Hello, thank you for having me. I really appreciate being a part of this panel discussing Year of Return to Beyond the Return. My role with the organization has been as a social media manager. I was creating content for Year of Return and now Beyond the Return, and we have both platforms that are still running. So I am running both platforms at the moment on both Instagram and Facebook, creating video content as well as social media posts. It has been a fantastic experience. My prior experience is in media, so I do have experience as a journalist, writer, reporter, TV host, public speaker. So overall media experience as well as fashion experience. And in coming to Ghana, I think it was the perfect space. And it was a great opportunity that presented itself for me when it did. And of course, I jumped on it because this was a perfect way to bring together the diaspora communities with the local Ghanaian and to help bridge the gap, to communicate to those in the diaspora, to let them know what was happening in Ghana, what happens on the ground, and let them, have fun and understand that the opportunities for investment, for returning, for, connecting with people here to do business, it's all there.
Amazing. And now I'm just passing over to Fred. Can you please quick introduction on what you do and how did you get engaged with this whole diaspora movement?
Thank you, Christina. I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to be here to speak about what GAJ is doing. First of all, I want to thank you and your amazing team at the GSC and the Ghana Tech Summit for helping Ghana to leverage the full potential that technology provides. And, as we all know, Ghana has a huge human capital base. And, we need to all kind of jump in and help build all those ecosystems that we have, that we know, we have, and we can improve it. So what you guys are doing is leading the way, because you don't only have, a short-term plan, you have a 10-year goal to keep doing this and kind of bring that level of awareness. And we really appreciate you doing that. Let me also use the time to congratulate Ghanaians, for being able to conduct a free and fair election for the 8th time in this Fourth Republic. We are all very proud because we have a place we can call home, that's peaceful, and that we can, be able to, share with the world. So let me just say that Ghanaian American Journal was started with basically one simple vision, and that is to build a platform where Ghanaians, here in the US, can have a place to share their culture, ideas, share information with each other. Because, living here for many years, I realized we didn't really have a lot of that, where businesses are able to interact and, for us to be aware of where, each other is. As you know, America is a very big place. And if you don't have a platform where we can all kind of get together and commune, it's difficult for us to know what each other is doing. So that was the whole basis for building Ghanaian American Journal. And I'm happy to say that after 3 years, my team and I have been able to deliver on the vision that we said. We're not done yet. We're always innovating and coming up with new ideas. But I feel like we are at a point where, with this whole year of return and beyond the return, even though we didn't know at the time that it was something that we were going to be doing, it has come to be, Ghanaian American Journal has been able to help, kind of putting the message out there and pushing Ghana forward.
Amazing. And now that we have, an overview of the work that you do, of course, not only as media influencers and media powerhouses in terms of engaging the diaspora, but your activations and supporting, obviously, the government and different private sector to get the diaspora to engage back. I now want to tap into your insights. So what insights do you have about the inception of the Year of Return movement? It kind of felt like an explosion of social media, if you remember, in 2019. It kind of was just like, whoa, everyone's in Ghana right now. Actually, late December of 2018 is when we really saw the kickoffs. So if you can recall to that time as a social media influencer, what was your involvement at that time? And how do you see that movement changing now that we're transitioning to now beyond the return? And I'll start with Ivy Prosper.
Well, as far as the beginning of Year of Return, all kickstarted when President Nana Akufo-Addo did his announcement in the US. I believe it was in September of 2019 when he made that announcement. And it was in, as you mentioned, late 2018. Sorry, I said 2019. September 2018 when he made the announcement. And it was in December 2018 when the Full Circle Festival with Boris Kojo and Bozoma St. John, and they brought about 100 of their friends from the US. So they brought a number of influencers, in media, in acting, film, television, who came with them to Ghana. And because of their presence, it helped to put a spotlight on Ghana because they were posting and sharing about their experiences in Ghana. So basically, it was sort of like a prelude. So when January kicked off, Year of Return, it was already getting some buzz. There were already people who were hearing about it and starting to book their trips and saying, I want to come to Ghana. And although it did have some buzz, it did have a slow start in the beginning of the year because there were still a lot of people who didn't quite understand what it was all about. So you had the influx of people who came for Independence Day and for the Ghana Diaspora Homecoming Summit. So people who would come for things that have been happening already, and then kind of like, hey, your return is, it's popping. There's a lot going on here. And then with social media, I would constantly be posting what's happening, and I would find ways to write captions where it connected with the diaspora, because I lived in Canada and I also have lived in the US, and then being a Ghanaian, I had a little bit of insight into the thinking of the psyche of those different types of people to be able to write things that they can connect with and then feel like, oh wow, you're thinking of us, you're caring about us. So I think that my insight was helpful when I would do my posts. And it was also very helpful having some of these high profile people coming and being willing to talk to us, because some of the interviews I did with people like Steve Harvey, went viral. And, he didn't have to talk to us, but he was, more than happy to do that, did the interview with him, chatted with Kofi Kingston. So there's different people who, allowed us to communicate with them, allowed us to share, what they were doing and their experiences. And I think that a lot of people connect with influencers and connect with celebrities, connect with their favorite personalities, and it makes them feel a sense of comfort that, okay, if that person can go, then I should go too. It's not so bad, because we know that there is the negative stereotype of Africa that's been around for a long time. So this was also a platform to be used to show positivity. So I had the opportunity to use technology to show a positive side of Africa, of Ghana, and share those experiences with people. And I don't think that we could have done it as big as we did without the social platforms, without the technology to do so.
Well said, Ivy. And I remember I was monitoring your social media feeds a lot. You said it well. You were capturing the psyche, you were capturing the spirit and the energy of what was happening. And obviously that's the reason why so many organizations was working with you personally to get the word out there. And now, Fred, with Ivy giving her perspective, she was part of that genesis on the ground and seeing what was happening with the Year of Return kickoff. What was your perspective on the American side? Because you're, the founder of this media group. It's been doing great work in the American Ghanaian community. Like, what have you seen with the movement, and where do you see it going from your perspective?
Yeah, I think the Year of Return was such a well thought out, concept, and the execution was just flawless, in my view, because as Ivy said, in the beginning it was a bit slow, but it was expected because people were looking to the climax, right? Towards the December period when we had an influx of people. And what we did in the beginning was just really to put out good content, because as a media house, we're always trying to put out good content. And what better content than to represent your own country in a very positive light? 400 years of slave, the slave Atlantic slave trade, and now our people can return back home, with our African American brothers and sisters, and we can all go back home and put a positive spin on something that's so negative. So we just jump right in, and I always say, when you're representing your country, you don't need to get paid for it. You just do it because it's for the love of the country. And that's what we did. And we're able to share a lot of information with our audiences. Prior to that, we had a couple of exhibitions, museum exhibitions that Gaj was part of. We had helped curate, in New York and in Connecticut. And we used the opportunity to kind of share, you know, what Ghana was all about, the culture, you know, kind of get people to understand why we are so proud of Ghana. So, you know, we, you know, using the social media platforms, sending the information out, just talking about it, doing interviews, those were the things that we did to kind of put that positive spin on it. And in the end, we came home and we all celebrated.
Yeah, we did celebrate. We did celebrate for sure. And then to continue, Christine had asked about it transitioning into Beyond the Return and how that's going to be. So with Beyond the Return, what a lot of people don't realize is that it's basically the follow-up to Year of Return's success, because there are a lot of things that people in Ghana as well as in the diaspora were asking us for. You know, there were consistent questions that constantly came up. So this Beyond the Return is a 10-year initiative, and the theme for it is a decade of African Renaissance. So basically everything that's being done with Beyond the Return has to tie in some way to the theme. So the theme of a decade of African Renaissance is all about the renewal of Africa. Now, there's 7 pillars that are the foundation of Beyond the Return. So those 7 pillars are Experience Ghana, which has to do with travel and tourism, coming and seeing the sites and experiencing events. There's Invest in Ghana, which has to do with encouraging the diaspora to invest in Ghana or collaborate with Ghanaians and start businesses, whatever it may be. Then there's the Diaspora Pathways to Ghana, and that one is focusing on some of the things that we get asked about all the time, things like citizenship, residency status, ways to go back and forth, and that's being worked on. There is a Homeland Return Act, which the government is currently working on. It has not gone through yet, but this is something that's being worked on under the Diaspora Pathways to Ghana. Then there's Celebrate Ghana, and Celebrate Ghana is the pillar that focuses on celebrating culture and traditions. So we had a lot of people last year who were like, it was great Year of Return, coming for all the events, but what about the festivals? What about the traditional things that are happening? So Celebrate Ghana will talk more about celebrating some of the traditions and festivities. Then there's Brand Ghana, which is about branding the country. So when someone thinks of Greece, when they think of Spain, when they think of France, there is branding behind why people think certain things about those countries. So Brand Ghana is all about focusing on building a brand for the country. Then there's Give Back Ghana. Give Back Ghana is about giving back to the community. And that is something that the diaspora has constantly talked about, because they come and they give back in different ways by serving the community or by making donations, whatever it may be, giving back to the community. For example, the Omega Sci-Fi's last year, they came and they commissioned 2 boreholes at the Akropong School for the Blind. And then at the New Africa event, This is New Africa, Tina Festival, there was a project where they went to a school to paint the school, help them with their library. So those kinds of things are part of the Give Back Ghana. And then finally, there's the 7th pillar, which is Promote Pan-African heritage and innovation. And that one is about putting a focus on some of the Pan-Africanism and some of the sites that people don't really know about that connect to the history. So for example, in the northern region of Ghana, a lot of people don't know there's this place called the Golu Wall, the Golu Slave Defense Wall. And that's actually a wall that's still standing, that was from the time that the people there were resisting being captured and taken into slavery. And most people who come to Ghana have no idea that that even exists, and it's in the north. So those are the 7 pillars of Beyond the Return. So right now, there are events happening for December. I know that COVID-19 made things a little challenging throughout the year when it comes to events and activities, but we do have some events that are happening in the month of December. We are posting about it. So there's events like Migration to Ghana, which is a networking event that falls on the Diaspora Pathways to Ghana. There's a Ghana Trade Exhibition, which falls under the Invest in Ghana. So every event has some kind of connection to one of the pillars of Beyond the Return. So with social media, what I'm trying my best to do is, you know, using the hashtags for the different 7 pillars and trying to explain the different things as I make the post so that people slowly start to understand, because it is a 10-year initiative. It's not something that's going to be fast. And we're glad that it's this amount of time, because it gives us a decade to really build and really connect and really have this be something that has a long-lasting impact.
Such a powerful summary. And Fred, did you have any additional remarks on that as well?
If I can touch a little bit on that. So what we are trying to do is to kind of build momentum around these seven pillars. And what I'm getting from talking to people is that yes, they came in 2019. They saw all the excitement, the beauty of Ghana. Now they want to go beyond that, and as the beyond the return mission is what they are. A lot of the things I'm hearing is yes. How do we give back to our communities? How do we, ensure that Ghana is not just about Accra or Kumasi or the big cities, but all the other remote areas of Ghana, because we know, those areas are all there and they need to also be beneficiaries to everything that's going on. So those are the kind of feedback I'm getting. And also the biggest thing is the business community. And I hope we're going to get a chance to talk more about it, because the business community is ready, and they want to be engaged. A lot of them are on ground as I speak. A lot of them are getting ready to come home and invest, and, we're really just trying to ensure that there's greater awareness to what is available and how they can come home and leverage that, so we can all, build Ghana together. So if we get a chance to talk on the business side, I'll be opening up some few things, about what I'm hearing.
Definitely, I'll follow up on that. I know we have, in the interest of time, one more quick question, and it's mainly, I think Ghana has become the envy of the African continent in terms of this movement, because obviously there's been challenges, there's been solutions, there's been so much during the year of return, and I do think there's an element of spontaneity in doing this as well, right? Because it kind of bursts into the ecosystem, this year of return movement. So I'm curious to hear each of you to just give any concluding remarks around why do you think no other African nation can build the same momentum that Ghana has created with this year of return? Of course, we know that there was the homecoming summit that Ghana initiated. We know that the president did an announcement at major events in America and of course in other regional hubs. So we know the steps that Ghana has taken to kick off this movement, but yet other African nations have not been able to launch a similar initiative. Any quick thoughts from your perspective, seeing the psyche of the diaspora around the world? What do you think we did differently, and how do we get more African nations to replicate this movement on a grander scale across the African continent?
I think that timing was everything. As far as Ghana being the one to be able to do it right now, Ghana has already been a country that has been known for Pan-Africanism, has been known to be inviting people from the diaspora, since the 60s, since Kwame Nkrumah times. People like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, and there's so many people who historically came to Ghana and throughout the decades, Muhammad Ali, so many different people. So Ghana already has thrown that out there, and a few people came. And then in 2007, there was the Joseph Project that they also did, which was supposed to be a project to also welcome the diaspora to Ghana too. So I think that the timing of technology being what it is today in our lives is what helped to catapult it to what it became. Because when I think back to, previous decades being in Ghana, when I would come for a visit, I'd be here for a while. There was no Instagram at the time. There was no Twitter, there's things that didn't exist. So I remember telling someone even just yesterday that, back in the late 90s, I would come to visit Ghana. I would write postcards and mail postcards to my friends to tell them what's happening in Ghana. And I would get back to Canada before the postcard even arrives. So I think that the timing of technology, the way that somebody could be like, oh, I'm at this place, let me snap a picture, let me post it now, and it could be across the world in less than a minute. I think that impact, and then people resharing and resharing and resharing, I think that coupled with the decades of Ghana already being a country that invited the diaspora, along with the timing of technology, is what helped to catapult it to what it became this time around. As far as other countries are now seeing the benefits, and now they're asking questions, because I have had people from other countries contact me personally, asking me, how can we do this in our country? Our government hasn't said they want to do something, but what can we do to try to start this type of movement here too? So it's kickstarted something, and I can imagine over the next few years, there will be other countries doing similar things.
Well said. And Fred, any additions? What are your thoughts? What did we do? What was the magic of Ghana in this time around?
Yeah, I believe Ghana has an amazing history. Our history is just phenomenal. And we've over the years been able to share that, across the globe. And, the fact that the 400 years came around this, this time, it was just a perfect storm, of, oh, Ghana, I've heard about Ghana, what's the buzz about Ghana? Now, here's the buzz. 400 years of slavery. We want everybody to return home. Let's help develop Africa. Let's help develop Ghana. It was just framed perfectly. And, the fact that Ghanaians are all over the world also helps, because we're able to just share the information that we have, about what's going on back home. And, if you go to work, everybody wants to know about Ghana. So that is what helped. And, I think, the Ghanaians have made the right investments over the years to make something like this happen, the year of return.
Amazing. So I know we're running out of time here before we transition to the ambassador remarks. And then, of course, the LinkedIn team will be joining us right after. But I just want to get some concluding remarks and just hear from you all. Each of you, just to share with us, what's next? What excites you as a media influencer in being a pioneer, but also a leader and facilitator of dialogue regarding engagements of the diaspora back to Ghana? So that way we can follow you and follow the journey and follow the developments in this iconic movement that's now swelled into a decade on Beyond the Return. So I'll start with Ivy and then we'll conclude with Fred.
Well, what excites me is being a part of changing the narrative of Africa. At the end of the day, when I think about the impact that I had doing social media with Year of Return and now Beyond the Return, and to know that some of the things I posted made people change their minds about this country. And I know this because at the airport, when we greeted people, there were times when I'll be there with my team and someone comes out to me and says, "Oh my God, Ivy Prosper, I came to Ghana because of something you posted on social media." So for me, what excites me is knowing that I have this power to help change the narrative of Ghana and Africa at large into something people never expected. Because when their minds are changed, they're open to coming. And when they're open to coming, that's the opportunity for them to not just come, but to collaborate and to build with the people who are here, because together we can be very powerful in rebuilding the continent of Africa.
Thank you. And Fred?
Yeah, thank you again, Christine. So with the concept of Beyond the Return, what I'm really excited about is seeing how we can all come together and just build our technology and business ecosystems, ensure that we are benefiting from all the attention that we've received, because the interest is still there, but how do we kind of bring everybody back, back to Ghana to do something. So I'm excited about 3 areas right now, and I want to talk about them. One, there is telehealth. Concept of telehealth, is becoming big, especially during this pandemic. And I just this morning I spoke to someone who's already on the ground, who's working on that. A fellow U.S. Ghanaian based in the U.S. And then there is another company which is in the health insurance industry, ensuring that Ghanaians who are in the U.S. can provide quality health care for their families. So this is a health insurance company called Fleury that is already on the market in Ghana using technology to make this possible. Another company to watch out for is Kta Mobile. They have mobile phones, a Ghanaian based in New York who builds mobile phones, and he's getting ready to establish a company in Ghana that will be assembling mobile phones. They're already on the market, but they want to do it right in Ghana. So talking about technology. Now, the biggest thing that I think is coming is having Ghana's own Google Translate. There is a company called Ghana Natural Language Processing. They are already building, they have an app. I've tested it. You could put any Ghanaian language in it, P, Ewe, Frafra. You put a language in it and it translates into English. Why is this guy doing it? He's doing it because he thinks that's what we need, because Google built a Google Translator and we don't have a Ghanaian version. The Ghanaian language is not in it. Somebody in California is doing it right now. And, these are the kind of excitement that, is coming out of the Beyond the Return movement. Ghanaians just willing to come home and invest. And I have hundreds of these stories. So let's go. Let's just do it,
Well said. No, but thank you so much for sharing that, Fred, because of course you've seen the business community really engage with Ghana in a very unique way. And with that, in the interest of time, we do have to conclude this panel. I know we're a little bit over time here and transition, but I do want to thank both of you for being a part of Ghana Tech Summit 2020. The conversation does not end here. I implore the social media community to definitely hashtag Ghana Tech Summit, definitely engage with Ivy and Fred on more developments of what they're monitoring, because these are the media powerhouses of our Ghanaian community, and they've been sharing, and it's hard work, by the way. And
it is.
Social media is 24/7.
People don't realize how hard it is.
So we applaud you and we salute you, and we really thank you so much for being a part of Ghana Tech Summit 2020. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you.